Arvin is a Mekanash.
It's already there.
We Jews have all kinds of laws.
Just by way of introduction, I would like to introduce Rabbi Shmuel Sutton, who is, I believe all of us know, Rabbi Sutton's father, who is Dina's grandfather, Mr. Jesus' father-in-law, and Amichai, my recipes, his uncle. So without any further ado, although it's precisely on time, which is quite
Not like the last
people come last time the Rabbi came almost an hour late because he had come right straight from Brooklyn, but he got stuck in traffic. But in Mitzvah Hashem, we start, if you want to start slowly, and people I'm sure will start wandering in. So it's
like Yosef.
And then afterwards, we're going to do the Tehillim and the Mishnah. And the Minyan for Arvik. We'll say Kaddish and Mishnah.
I just want to talk a little bit about, everybody knows, Moshe Rabbeinu, Damal with the Sefer Shemot. Moshe Rabbeinu's level of Nevu'ah was unique. There was no other Navi, with the possible exception of Bil'am. There was no other Navi ever who reached the level of Moshe Rabbeinu's Hash'at Shekhinah, Panim El Panim, and he was awake, and the Rambam puts a lot of emphasis on it. But why was Moshe Rabbeinu Zocher to that Madrega? Why was he Zocher to that Madrega, being the one Navi that Shekhinah rested upon him? So, put that question on the side for a minute. I think you see Amidah Moshe Rabbeinu this week's parasha, which I think Rashi emphasizes, re-emphasizes. Pasuk says, "Vayigdal Moshe, vayetzel achav, vayad b'sivlotam." Moshe Rabbeinu grew up, and he went out to his brothers. Vayad b'sivlotam. Rashi says, "Sam eno v'libo alehem." He put his eye and his heart on them. What's to put his eye on them and he put his heart on them? And the Midrash, we'll see in a minute, makes a ma'arich on this point, what it means exactly. But I would say, Sam eno is the pshat Moshe Rabbeinu paid attention to them, and Sam libo alehem is a pshat that he felt for them. You have some people who have a lot of feelings, but it's easy not to pay attention. You don't notice what's going on with the next person. You have people who notice what's going on with the next person, and they might shake their head for a minute, but it does not really nichnas el alev. Moshe Rabbeinu, he put his heart and he put his lev. And Midrash says a little bit more than that. Vayar b'sivlotam, al vayar, she'aro'eh b'sivlotam u'bocheh. He saw them and he wept. V'omer chaval li alechem, mi yiten muti alechem, I wish I could die instead of you. She'en lecha melacha kasha mimelechet hatit, they had to work so hard with the cement and the bricks. Said Moshe Rabbeinu would go and he would try to help them. And the Midrash has an interesting line. Vayamaniach deragon shelo. He put aside, the Mefarish, I'm not sure what it means, sounds like his royal robes. He took his royal robes and he put them on the side. V'holech u'miyashev lahem sivlotehem. V'yoseh chil mesayel paro. And he went and he would try to help them and help this guy carry and help that guy do his work. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ata hinachta asakecha v'alachta l'rot b'tzaran shel Yisrael. You left your occupation and you went to see what's bothering the Jewish people and help them. V'nahagta b'hem minhag achim, and you were noheg like an ach. You tried to carry it with them. Ani maniach et elyonim et tachtonim v'adaber imach. I'm going to leave the tachtonim and I'm going to come and talk to you. V'zchut that. V'zchut that. Hadav d'chtiv vayar Hashem kisa lirot. By the Sineh it says Hashem saw kisa lirot. What's the pashut pshat? He saw that he was curious what's going on with the Sineh. And Moshe, and he called out to him, Moshe, Moshe. It says in the Midrash, no. The remes was something much greater. This could have been 60 or 40 or 60 years later, according to some of us. But Moshe Hashem remembered. He was salirot. He looked at what's going on with Bnei Yisrael, and he went to help them. And that's what Hashem says. You left your asakim to help the Jewish people. I'm going to leave the Shamayim, and I'm going to come down and rest my Shekhinah upon you. What's the omek of this midrash? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was concerned with Klal Yisrael, so Hashem says, you left your palace to take care of my children, I'm going to leave the heavens to rest my Shekhinah on you. What exactly is the connection between us? Otherwise, he's Zocher Tashat Shekhinah. So I think it's an amazing thing. If you look in the parasha, what was the lashon he uses about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, Vayigdal Moshe, Vayad B'Sivlotam, Halach v'natan libo v'enav. Libo v'enav. His heart and his eye. Rashi uses at least twice in the parasha the same exact lashon while talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'atzmo. One place Rashi says in Pasuk Moshe, Hashem says, Vayad Elokim Epnei Yisrael, Vayeda Elokim, and Hashem knew. Says Rashi, what does Vayeda Elokim mean? Natan alehem lev, v'lo ha'elim enav. He put his lev on them, v'lo ha'elim enav. It's the same midah. The lev is kavyachol, so to speak. We talk about Hashem. He felt he had a lev to share in their tzar, v'lo ha'elim enav, and he didn't move his eyes away. Again, a lot of people, they see somebody with tzar, and you feel bad for the moment, but you ma'alim anayim, and afterwards you move on in life. Hashem didn't do that. And then when Hashem later speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu mitoch hasneh, he says, Ki yadati et machovav. Hashem says, don't worry, I know what's going on in Bnei Yisrael. Ki yadati. Ki samti lev lihitbonen, samti lev, v'lo yadati machovav, v'lo ha'enamti enai. And I didn't take my eye off of them. V'lo yatom oznaim mitza'akatam. I didn't close my ears. Exactly the same lashon that it says Moshe Rabbeinu. Natan libo ve'enav alehem. It says exactly the same thing on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Natan libo ve'enav alehem. What's the point over here? I think the idea is like this. The Sefarim say that when a person does chesed, there's 3 different levels of doing chesed. The lowest level, even though it's a great level, but the lowest level is tzedakah. Tzedakah is a great mitzvah. But sof kol sof, when a person gives tzedakah, what's he giving? He's giving his money. Money is an external connection to the person. It's only money. A much higher form of chesed is gimilut chasadim. Gimilut chasadim, you go out, you help a person, kur cholim, tzala. All types of chesed that a person could do. He's doing it with his goof. He's troubling himself, he's taking out of his time, he's taking out of his efforts, his energy. It's gimilut chasadim. But Sefarim say there's a higher form of gimilut chasadim. It's called noseh ba'olim chaverot. Noseh ba'olim chaverot is a pshat. You're not just giving him money. I don't mean to say giving money is not a great mitzvah. It's a great, great mitzvah. And chesed is a great, great mitzvah. But the biggest chesed you could do for a person is you could be noseh ba'olim chaverot. Because you're not just giving your money and your goof, you're giving your neshama. You're connecting with the person's lev, and you're making him feel that there's somebody who's carrying his burden together with him. Somebody's carrying the burden with him. The worst feeling that a person can have is that he's alone. He's not chashuv. Nobody cares about him. He has to deal with this problem by himself. And to have somebody to carry the burden with him is an unbelievable chesed. And not just to physically carry, to really share in the tzar that the person's experiencing. That's called noseh ba'olim chaverot. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Midrash says, what did he do? He went out and he saw the Jewish people, and he took off his dargon, he took off his royal robes. Why is he making such an effort? He took such an emphasis. He took off his robes and he helped them. And so, let me ask you a question. How many people do you think Moshe Rabbeinu was able to help? There were millions of Jews that were working. Moshe Rabbeinu went and he helped one old man carry his bricks, and then he helped that he carried another one. He did what he could. But how many people was he able to help? I think the Midrash is coming to tell you something else. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't just help. Moshe Rabbeinu was mishtatef with the lev of the whole Klal Yisrael. When he took off his royal robes and he helped 5 people that day, he didn't help 5 people. The word spread around everybody. the prince is here, the prince is Jewish, and the prince took off his royal robes, and he's carrying the Levanim with us. He helped 3 million people because he was noseh be'ol with all of them. The work that he helped out was only a few individuals, but he was noseh be'ol with all. All of Klal Yisrael felt. There's somebody here that's carrying the load with us. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's gadlus. If you look at Gedolei Yisrael, you'll see that their greatness is not just that they did chesed and they helped people when they could, which they did all the time, but their greatness was that they were noseh ba'ol. They gave of their lev. With their lev. I read a story about Rav Shach, Zichrono Livracha. Rav Shach was the night of the Dikat Chametz. By Gedolei Yisrael, I would say probably the tensest, most stressful night of the year is the night of Yudalit Nisan. B'dikat chametz, they're up to the middle of the night and every nook and cranny and on your hands and knees. B'dikat chametz, and he's about to start b'dikat chametz, and he gets a knock on the door, and he opens the door and he sees a boy from the yeshiva. Yeah, what do you want? I need to talk to the Rosh Yeshiva. He takes him inside. He starts talking to him, and he sees that this boy is abnormally nervous about something. And he talks to him a little bit, and he decides this boy really needs professional help right away. He called up a psychologist that he knew in Yerushalayim, and he says, I have a Talmud from the yeshiva who needs to talk to you. He says, fine, Rabbi, tell him to come tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. No, he needs to talk to you tonight. He says, Rabbi, it's the night of B'dikat Chametz. He needs to see you tonight. It's an emergency. Fine, tell him to come as soon as he can. The boy arrived at his house in Yerushalayim, 10 o'clock at night. The man sat down and talked to him, spoke to him for 2 hours, and he calmed him down and he told him what to do and he heard him. And then he walked the boy outside, 12 o'clock at night, B'dikat Chametz, and he sees a figure pacing back and forth in the garden in front of his apartment house in Yerushalayim. He looks carefully and he sees it's Rav Shach himself. And he realized that Rav Shach accompanied this boy, and he says, Rabbi, what are you doing here? He says, one of my Talmidim is in stress. I'm going to send him on a bus. I took a taxi with him. I'm not going to send him myself. I came with him, and I'm waiting for him to take him back when he's ready to go. He says, you could have come inside. No, he has to be alone with you. I'll take him back now. That's how he spent his night of B'dikat Chametz. Lev. He had a lev. And I'll just share with you another story about Rav Shach, an unbelievable story. There was a man in Lakewood, Avrech, and he was offered a job to become a rabbi in the shul. It was more of a modern type of a shul here. And he had learned the Panovich. So he went for the interview, and they told him, where do you study? Panovich. So one of the people on the board says, Panovich, that's Rabbi Shach's yeshiva. Rabbi Shach, he didn't really get along with people. Ahavat Yisrael, we like Ahavat Yisrael in our shul. I don't know if you're for us. The man says, listen, let me tell you, he says, this interview is finished. You're not for me, and I'm not for you. But before I leave, I just wanted to give you an idea who my Rebbe, Rav Shach, was. He says, I'll tell you 2 things about him, which will give you an inkling of what he was. I saw it myself, he says. He says, one day, Rav Shach was in his 80s, and a doctor came to his apartment, and he had some kind of growth on his hand, which had to be removed. And the doctor said, I'll cut it off. He said, but I have to really cut a little deep. I have to give you anesthesia. Rav Shach told him, he said, is it going to make me groggy? I have to give shir tomorrow. He said, yeah, person your age, it's going to take you a few days to get over the anesthesia, get back to yourself. Rav Shach says, do it without the anesthesia. I'll manage without it. He said, Rabbi, I have to cut deep into your skin and cut this thing out. He says, it's okay. He says, give me a few minutes to think before you start, and you can do it. So the doctor said, I'm not doing it unless you bring me 4 boys from the yeshiva to hold him down in case he starts to jerk back and forth. So they brought 4 boys. He says, I was one of them. This Avrech said, I was one of them. And they told us, if he starts moving his hand, I can't stop in the middle. You have to hold his hand down. He said, Rav Shach put his hand out, and they cut it away. He didn't budge. He didn't flinch. They're cutting away his flesh. He says, that's story number 1, to show you we're not talking about a soft weakling over here. We're talking about a very, very strong person. But then another story happened. I don't know if you remember, there was in the I guess it was in the 80s, there was a terrible accident in the army. There were two helicopters that collided, and a lot of people got killed, a lot of soldiers, I think 20 soldiers got killed. You remember that? They came into Rav Shach and they told him the story, and he started crying uncontrollably. He couldn't stop crying. He didn't know anybody on the plane, on the helicopters. They weren't Talmidim. I don't know if they were Datiyim. They were Yehudim. Yehudim that were niftar like that. The lev of the man was kolel. You'll tell me, well, he's an emotional guy who cries easily. No, you can cut off a piece of his arm and he doesn't shed a tear, he doesn't move. When it comes to feeling for Klal Yisrael, his lev was libosh of kol ha'am. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. That's Natan libo ve'anav. But really, the truth is, it's a drop deeper. Because the sefer called Tomer Devorah, probably everybody heard of it. Tomer Devorah is a sefer that was written by Rav Moshe Cordovero. Rav Moshe Cordovero was from the Gedolim Mekubalim, the same daughters, the Arizal. There's two Gedolim, the Ramak and the Arizal. And most of the sefarim are deep Kabbalah, not for me. But there's one sefer which he wrote, which Baalei Musar took, and it's also based on Kabbalah, but the first part is a little bit more comprehensible. And he tells you how a person is mechuyev to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu's midot. And he goes through Hashem's 13 midot, up here the pasuk in Amichai, and he says what is that midah and how can we emulate Hashem. And one of the midot is called the she'erit nachalato. Midah revi'it. What is that midah? You know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu menaheg Yisrael b'derech zu. You know how Hashem looks at Bnei Yisrael? He says, Ma yaseh Yisrael. How could I do anything to harm Bnei Yisrael? V'hem kerovai. They're my relatives. She'er basar. She'er yesh le'am. I have a relationship with them. Hem bat zug. It's almost like a spouse, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Korela pesukim kol klal Yisrael. Biti, achoti, kedbeshu zal. Yisrael am kerovo. Yisrael is called am kerovo, not just Karov, his close nation. Mamash kurva yesh le'am. It's family. HaKadosh Baruch Hu treats us like family. And that's nachalato. So what does Hashem say? Im anishem harekev alai. As much as I cause them to be punished, I suffer. Kedichti b'chol tzaratam lo tzar. Says the Tomer Devorah, kach adam im chavro. A person who wants to emulate Hashem's ways. Kol Yisrael hem she'er basar elum elu. All of Klal Yisrael, they're all relatives. More than that. Maybe neshamot kilulot yachad. We're all one neshama kilalif that's connected. Yesh bazeh chelik zeh ubazeh chelik zeh. My neshama is connected to your neshama, and yours to mine, and each one of us to every other Jew. And he goes on. So Moshe Rabbeinu had this midah of sherit nachalato. He felt mekurav that he's a brother, a father, a relative of every single Jew. And he was able to be noseh ba'ol. He was able to be noseh ba'ol every person. And we know, kutshabrichu v'araytu Yisrael chadu. The more achdus there is in Klal Yisrael, the more there's a makom for hasharat shekhinah. And the person who causes the shekhinah to be united, he's the person that's zocher to have the shekhinah. And ulai that's a pshat in the Midrash. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, you left your asakim to care about my children and to unite with them. I'm going to be mashrei my shekhinah on you. Because the person who has amidah is zocher to be davuk for Hashem. When you're davuk to Klal Yisrael, the more davuk to Klal Yisrael, the more davuk you are with the shekhinah. I have a Talmud who unfortunately went through a hard time over the last 10 years. And he went off the derech, and he got confused, and he lost his religion, and Baruch Hashem, he started coming back now. He's a very sensitive person, he's a very deep person. And he told me an idea, now that he's coming back. He told me, he says, Rabbi, he says, what do you think the most important word in the Torah is? The most important word in the Torah. What's the most important word? He says the most important word of Torah is Vehil Bisham. Vehil Bisham. What does Vehil Bisham? Vehil Bisham means, and he dressed them. Where does it say Vehil Bisham? After the Chet of Adam Rishon. He said, what happened with Adam Rishon? He rebelled against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gave him one mitzvah to keep. Everything was Talui and Etzadat, and he rebelled. And then Hashem tried to help him. Ayeka, where are you? He's hiding. Did you eat? She told me everything. After all that, what does Hashem do? He goes himself, and he feels for Adam Rishon, V'hil Bisham, and he dressed them. He dressed them himself. Hashem was metapel with them himself. This was a boy talking mamish from the depths of his neshama. He said, V'hil Bisham, he says, I was that person. He says, and Hashem himself is picking me up and carrying me back. He said, that's the most important word of the Torah, to understand that point. How Kadosh Baruch Hu cares for us, Natan Libo, to mamish, to carry each person. That was Medragav of Moshe Rabbeinu. How does a person work on this midah? How does a person work on the midah of Noseh Ba'olim Chavero? So, a person told me, he says, when I was involved in Shidduchim, I was looking for Shidduch, so I'm praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when a boy's in Shidduchim, that's what he davens for. I remember one of the mashgichim in Lakewood says, how does a boy in Lakewood daven on Rosh Hashanah? Uvchen, a Shidduch. Ten pachtecha, a Shidduch. He sees it every single word of Tefillah, he sees a Shidduch. He's davening for a Shidduch. So as davening for a Shidduch, he starts thinking about, I have a friend, he also needs a Shidduch. Hashem, give me and give him a Shidduch too. And this other person I know, give them a Shidduch too. Call mitpalel, tzarich ledavar mitpalel aleh, abat chavero, unenat tachila, and I want to help my friend anyway. Okay. Yes, he got married, and then he wants to have children. He starts davening to Hashem, please have children. And he starts thinking, that friend of mine, he also doesn't have children. Let me daven for him too. And another person, and another person. And he thinks, I never noticed, I never davened for the people to have children until I was in the same boat. Okay, he has a couple of kids. He needs a house. Hashem, please let me find a house. Let me get a mortgage. And also, my friend, he's got 5 children, 2-bedroom apartment. He should get a house too. He should get a house too. And then after a couple of years, he caught himself. How come I only start thinking about people's needs when I need the same thing? Teretz says, because he's not really thinking about anybody else. He's thinking about himself. And Agav, he's schlepping along the rest of the world. Gedolei Yisrael, not like that. Gedolei Yisrael noseh b'ol im chavero, not my all, that he also needs. I'm noseh b'ol im chavero, yemakir, his all. I have a cousin, his name is Rabbi David Sutton. Maybe some of you have seen some of his books. He told me that he once went to Chamentzion Vasha'ul, and he asked them, are you allowed to listen to music? The big shaila. One says that after the Churban you're not supposed to listen to music. The Ramah says only if you're drinking wine together with the music. Maran seems to say, Stam, you're not supposed to listen to music. So some Matir, taped music is not music, and Shirim v'Shevachot, Shivchei Hashem, maybe that's not called, that's okay. Heterim. Could you be Soymech on the Heterim, not Soymech on the Heterim? Chamentzion told him, he says, really, according to the letter of the law, really, you should be Machmir. But, yesh makom la'akel, minhag is to be makel, to be Somech on the Ramah, and I'm makel for myself. I listen to music. He asked him, why? Why should you be makel? He said, because I hear people's sarot so much, people come and they tell me about for berachot, and I feel for each and every one of them. He says, and I get down, and I need something to pick me up, to cheer me up. I listen to music, it puts me into good mood. Chudim and again. That's a Gadol Yisrael. Gadol Yisrael is, he feels the other person's sar. He shares in the person's sar. He's margish the other person's sar. It's an unbelievable word that the Ger Rebbe, the Imre Emes, once said. It says by Elia Kohen that Hannah came and she was praying for a child. And Eli considered her, thought she was drunk. And he said, Tasidi yanech ma'alai, take it away from me. And she tells him, Lo Adoni. No, I'm not drunk. The Gemara says, what does it mean, Lo Adoni? Lo Adon ata b'davar. You don't have Ruach HaKodesh right now. Because if you did, you would know that I'm not drunk. It says, Gadol Ador, Lo Adoni. Okay, she says, Isha kishat ruach anochi, and she's praying. Eli tells her, Yitan Hashem et shelatech. Hashem will give you your request. Gemara says he told her, it's granted. Your tefillot were accepted already. Your tefillot were accepted. Don't worry, you're going to have a son. So the Rebbe asked to Pasha the Kasha, Lo Adoni, his Ruach HaKodesh wasn't functioning properly. How does he know she's going to have a son? All of a sudden he turned it on in the middle? How does he know? Couldn't figure out that she wasn't drunk, but he figured out she's going to have a son. How does he know? You want to hear more of the Gemara? Says the Rebbe, the Pshat's like this. An emissar gadol Yisrael, he's margish every person's sar. He's margish every person's sarah. Why did Eli think she was drunk? Because he saw her praying, and she's so brokenhearted, and he says, I'm not margish this lady's chaser anything. She's not lacking anything. Why is she so bitter? Yeah, she must be drunk. She told him, I'm not drunk, and I'm really desperate, and that's why I'm davening. So Eli thought to himself, so how come I didn't feel that she's chaser? How could it be that a Yid is here davening and I don't feel that she's missing something? You know what it must be? Because she's not missing. It was granted already, min hashamayim. Min hashamayim, she's got it already. She doesn't realize it. That's what he told her. He says, if I don't know that you're a chaser, if I don't feel it, Yitan Hashem et shelatech. Because min hashamayim, it's already in the exile. You're going to have a child already. The madrega of a gadol Yisrael to be nosel. So how does a person work on it? I think the answer is, like I said, if we could all practice a little bit on thinking about other people's tzarachim, not the same tzorech that's a tzara shaveh with me, that what they're missing, that I'm also not missing. To try to name with bonen, another person, what's his tzara? What's his tzara? May not be the tzara that I have. I might not even consider it a tzara, but for him it's a tzara. And to try to once in a while be mitpalel for other people and carry them would be a great tikkun, I think. Amichai, alav shalom, was a great Baal Chesed. It wasn't a chesed on a superficial way. It was a Baal Chesed that cared for other people. And I think he touched this mitzvah of noseh ba'olim chaverot. How he could help people, how he could share in people's tzar, to be meromem otam, and to be magvir otam, and to ozer lahem b'mamono, b'zmano, b'tircho, with hatzala, or whatever it is that he could help people with, but not just by being yotzeh and checking boxes from the chesed list, but to be noseh ba'ol, to be margish other people. I think that was mamish, one of the midot that he was mitzdayan. And I just want to add another thing. This is my own hergesh. I think it's a proper hashkafa. B'ezrat Hashem, we're looking forward to the simcha. Yosef saw bar mitzvah, we started wearing tefillin this week. I don't think it's proper to think that neshama min hashamayim looks at the simcha the same way as we do. You know, human beings are very emotional, and rightfully so, they're supposed to be, and we feel bad that he's not going to share in the simcha, but the neshama himself doesn't look at it like that. He's not emotional. He is sharing in the simcha. He is just looking at the mailah. To be zoicha, to have a son who's a ben Torah, who's mekabel all mitzvot. But neshama, it's kulei simcha. I don't think a neshama doesn't have the hagesh. I wish I could be in olam hazeh. There's no wishing by neshama. He sees things the way they are. Tov is tov, ra is ra. Tov is mesameach, the neshama. And the emotional aspects of it, he's above that, way, way above that. And he only looks at what's a zechut. A tremendous zechut to have a son that's about to be mekabel all machut, shamayim, all mitzvot, the simcha, a ben Torah. I oftentimes tell people in the sitting shiva in the community, ledati, if it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, I don't tell them. But if it's appropriate, I tell them, ledati, it's a much greater zechut to have children or grandchildren are learning in yeshiva than to have a name on the side of the building. We have people with names on buildings. That's a great thing to support a yeshiva. But it's eno domeh to having a person that he sees his own children that are holchim b'darkei Hashem and being amil b'Torah and being mitkadel b'Torah and a kol mitoch sheifa l'gadlut and simcha. So, Ezrat Hashem, this simcha that's coming up will be a great aliyah for the neshama. I think we should appreciate that for the neshama, it's cool, it's simcha. It's not bittersweet for the neshama. Neshama doesn't have bittersweet feelings. Neshama only has simcha from such a simcha. Thank you for listening.
those that have been here in the past.